Good morning and welcome to Unit 9, Lesson 5, Screencast number 1. We're going to just kind of talk through some of the things that are in Lesson 5. There's some things that I'm going to point out and have you read or answer or underline or etc. But just you're going to have to kind of listen and follow along. So first of all, it says what causes environmental change? Environmental change. Remember, you're talking about the entire an entire area with both the living or biotic factors that are involved and the non-living or abiotic factors in that area. Okay, so what causes environmental change? Well, it happens when natural processes or human activities cause some sort of disturbance in the environment, some sort of change to how that environment normally functions, or the parts of that environment that are normally present. So basically, environmental change can be caused by two different things, either natural processes or by human activities. So let's talk about natural processes first. First of all, depending on what natural process you're talking about, the change can either happen slowly or it can be very quick. Climate change, which is kind of a special case, because it can be listed both as a natural process and under human activities. Climate change changes environments very slowly. Remember, climate is basically your weather patterns over a long period of time. So, for instance, we can talk about the climate in Texas being fairly hot in the summertime, fairly mild in the wintertime. In our area of Texas, we can expect a certain number of inches of rainfall, that kind of thing. But the climate in other areas, for instance, may be different. It may be a colder climate, maybe a drier climate, things like that. So climate is basically your weather averaged over a long period of time. And climate change could be, for instance, a slow trend in the change in the amount of rainfall, for instance, that a certain area gets. It could be that the temperatures slowly change over time, something like that. And something that would be a natural climate change example was, for instance, about 10 or so thousand years ago, we did have what's called a Little Ice Age, where for a time period, temperatures worldwide were a little bit cooler than they are now. And that obviously was not due to human activity, because humans didn't have the burning of fossil fuels and things like that are now causing global climate change at this time because of the things that we as humans have done. But anyway, so climate change is a little bit of a unique example, but it can be a natural process. But other things that could be natural processes that would happen more quickly would be a volcanic eruption, the changes to an environment due to a hurricane or an earthquake or floods or forest fires or things like that. Okay? And depending on what type of changes or damage the environment suffers, some things can be overcome fairly quickly and some things take a long period of time. Okay? All right. Let's talk quickly about the impact of human activities, which is obviously something that we really need to pay attention to because we as humans are responsible for these changes. Okay? Some things that you might not necessarily think of. Farming can change the environment. For instance, if you take land that was once part of a forest and you clear it to plant crops, then what you've done is destroy forest habitat and replaced it with a different environment, which is cropland. Also, you can take grassland and convert it into cropland. And it's not deforestation because there's not trees, but you've changed the types of plants that are present and things like that. And I'm not saying that farming is a bad activity. I'm just saying that we need to be careful about how much land we're clearing and what we're using it for and that sort of thing. Anyway, just understand that whenever we do anything positive or negative, that it, to the environment, we are altering it. Okay? We've done other things like build dams, and we've done those for important reasons, but also we have to take into account the impact that it has on the environment, because what you've done by damming a lake is, or damming a river, is what you've done is created a lake, which means that you've got water that does not flow quickly, whereas before you had a river where the water does flow, and that can make a difference in the environment and what's able to live there and thrive. Okay, we can do things. For instance, logging destroys or eliminates trees. We have to be careful about how we do that. Like I said, there's all sorts of things that we as humans depend on. Obviously, we need wood for construction and things like that, but we have to be careful about how we go about harvesting trees and things like that. Commercial fishing, again, it's not bad to go fishing, but we have to pay attention to how much are we fishing? Are we overfishing a certain area or a certain fish population? And what is that going to do to the food webs that fish is part of? Okay, and like I've said before, we have definitely caused an impact on global climate because of the burning of fossil fuels. The burning of fossil fuels produces carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere tends to hold on to the sun's heat, which causes the temperature over a long period of time to slowly increase. Okay. Now, we as humans have also worked to reverse environmental changes by trying to minimize the impact of those human activities that we've done. For instance, we've done fish ladders in dams, wildlife bridges that can reconnect habitats that were separated, all sorts of things. Okay, but just please understand that when we are talking about environmental change, that you can have two types. You can have things that occur naturally without, human intervention, and then you can have other environmental changes that are a direct result of what we do as humans. Okay, what I would like for you to do, and you're not going to see me do it, but down here, right in here, I want you to put a Post-it note, and on that Post-it note, I want you to answer this question. How can climate change be both natural and caused by human activity? Okay? So write that on your Post-it note. Okay? Stick the Post-it note right there and answer the question. Okay? And the question one more time is, how can climate change be both natural and caused by human activity? Okay, and I forgot that I hadn't really given you a chance to write these two little explanations down. And there's not a whole lot of underlining. There's been a whole lot of talking, but not a whole lot of underlining. So what I want you to do is go back to number 5, where it asks you to underline examples of natural processes and underline examples of human activities that can cause environmental change. So what I want you to do basically is go back under natural processes and find some examples of things that cause environmental change, but also come over here and do the same thing for human activities. Underline some things that cause environmental change that are created and done by humans.